Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P. Joe Pisapia. With me, the Undertaker, Andrew Erickson. It's all of you. We're hanging out, talking a little Week 15. If you've got questions, we've got answers. Drop them in the chat. We're here to chat with you. And, of course, Andrew Erickson. We got a lot of great football. Everybody's back and playing, which is very exciting. I did a show yesterday with Matt Peralt. If you missed it, you can go check it out. It's over, we did on our Discord, but it's over on our audio-only feed, so subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And we had a big conversation. I asked him your question, basically about are the Houston Texans a good team or not, because I'm trying to get a read on that Dolphins game, and he basically told me, why are you trying to do that? Stop it. Just don't even look at that game. It's annoying. And I think he's right. So Andrew and I are not going to talk about that game today. Instead, we're going to talk about the rest of Week 15 and some things that are popping up to us. But first, free stuff. Everybody loves free stuff here. So we're giving away a signed Stefon Diggs jersey right now. If you can possibly believe it, if you want a chance to win the signed Stefon Diggs jersey for free, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com. He doesn't need it rest of season, so it can be yours. All you have to do is subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel right now. Drop a comment below on this or any video. That's it. That's all you got to do, and we'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel. So make sure you turn on those notifications so we can tell you when new videos are up and if you are the big winner so you can claim your prize. Good-looking jersey there, signed right on the one. That's the 1 year he's going to play with the Houston Texans. All right, Andrew Erickson, let's kick it off. Let's talk a little bit here. I want to start with Dallas and Carolina because you are the Panther guy. You're Mr. Carolina Panther. You always have been. You always will be. You guys broke up for a little while, and the Carolina Panthers said, oh, baby, come home. Come back. I want to get back together with you. So Carolina Panthers, after the dust settled, we really getting to talk about this game too much on Monday, so I want to talk about it now on today's live stream because the Panthers are 2.5-point favorites at home against the Dallas Cowboys. What's left of the Dallas Cowboys, at least. So, Andrew Erickson, how are you feeling about where this line has ended up?
Feeling great about it. I mean, I guess I wish I had hopped on, I think, when Dallas was still favored, I think very early on Sunday or early Monday morning, because the Panthers are going to win this game. The first time in the Bryce Young era, they are the sports markets, the betting, the public, everyone believes that Bryce Young should win this game. And this has never happened ever before. And he's obviously won games before as an underdog, but never as a favorite. So always a bride, or what is it? Always a bridesmaid, never bride. That's been the case with Bryce Young. But today, this week, he's going to get married and he's going to come away with a big W. So I think that it's a classic case if you have a team that's played a bunch of close games, 5-0 against the spread. Bryce Young, the last 5 weeks, playing Dallas off a short week. Dallas is dealing with more injuries. They just put another linebacker on injured reserve. Overshawn, I believe, is out for the season. So, I mean, what's Dallas' season at this point, right? Like, they're just kind of trying to finish it up. I mean, I think they still have like a 5% chance. Whatever the playoffs thing, it's not realistic. They're not going to make playoffs. Whereas Carolina, like, Bryce Young is playing so that he can be the quarterback of the future for the Panthers. Like, and so far what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, like, yes, because that was in question at the beginning of the year. Like, well, do we need to dump this guy already? And that's going to be no longer the case here. So I think that they play. I mean, they've played so great against teams that are so significantly better than Dallas.
Oh, Eagles,
the City Chiefs, the Eagles,
they've really
the Buccaneers, and they just came up short 3 games in a row. But this time, I think they're going to get the job done. You have Chuba Hubbard going to see 30 touches in this game because all the other running backs are hurt for Carolina against Dallas's defense. I think it's a great matchup for him. And actually, when I was diving into this for the primer, my favorite prop is actually in this week. So you guys are getting a sneak peek at some of these props that we talked about on the Friday show. Bryce Young over his rushing yards, 13.5 rushing yards, been over in 4 straight games.
Ooh,
he was allowing the second most rushing yards to quarterbacks this season, the Dallas Cowboys. So, so if he's going to get pressure from Micah Parsons, he's going to make plays with his legs. And that's kind of the thing I've been impressed the most with by Bryce Young, I think, is you're seeing the off-script playmaking ability that he did at Alabama, right? Where he's making plays out of the pocket. And at the beginning of the season, that was just nowhere to be found. But we're starting to see it over the last couple of weeks. So even when he's under pressure, he's still making plays. I think he's going to use his legs a lot. So yeah, I like the Panthers. I like Bryce Young.
It's just amazing, the aura of the Cowboys disintegration. And I like what you were talking about too, which is something to play for. And I think the Carolina Panthers do have something to play for. I think these guys are fighting for their spots next year. Bryce Young being the most important one. And the Cowboys really have nothing to play for and don't seem like they want to play for Mike McCarthy anymore. I think that is pretty obvious at this point that is the feeling. There are some other teams out there with a lot to play for. Washington against New Orleans. They're trying to hang into that playoff spot that they're in right now. They're catching New Orleans at the perfect time. Theoretically, they're coming off a bye. New Orleans doesn't have Derek Carr, so that's a good situation. Cincinnati Bengals, another team that really needs a lot to happen for them to be able to somehow get in the playoffs. But I also wonder what they have to play for here. They're playing the Tennessee Titans. Titans are 3-10. The Cincinnati Bengals are 5-point favorites in this game on the road going against the Titans, who do have a good defense, quarterback situation in flux over there. But do the Cincinnati Bengals have face to play for right now and trying to save it, or Zach Taylor trying to save his job? Because I imagine he must be on the hot seat this year. Last year, injuries. Okay, everybody gets a pass. This year, expectations were large. They came up short. The GM didn't give them enough to work with. What do you see out of the Cincinnati Bengals, you think, this week? I know they came out with a victory against the Cowboys, but, I mean, again, that was just, one that maybe could have slipped through their fingers literally at one point. So where do you have the Bengals this week being such heavy favorites on the road against a Titans team with a pretty good D?
I think the thing with Cincinnati, I think it's the same thing we've seen from them every single game is their offense scores 1 billion points. Their defense gives up 1 billion points, and then it goes down to the wire, whether they win by a touchdown or they lose by a field goal, right? And just given the current state of the Titans, I mean, Will Levis is banged up. I mean, they couldn't score against Jacksonville last week, right? I mean, come on. So I'm not super intrigued or inspired by the Tennessee Titans performance. Yes, their defense has been good against bad teams. But when they faced good offenses, like the Commanders 2 weeks ago, when they faced the Lions a couple weeks back in midseason, they got destroyed by those teams. So I think it's going to be more of the same where when they go up a notch, when they're not facing Mac Jones, yeah, they're going to give up a lot of points on defense. So, I mean, at this point, like if you're Burrow, it's like, dude, like I'm just going to throw for I'm going to throw for touchdowns, 1 billion yards. Let's get Jamar Chase the Triple Crown and make sure that man gets as much money as humanly possible because, of course, the Bengals got themselves stuck in the situation where they could have paid the guy. They decided not to, and now they're going to have to pay him even more than he could have imagined in the beginning. So,
yeah, I didn't get that. It's not like, did you think Jamar Chase wasn't going to go out there and rub it in your face? Like I don't understand that at all. He is top 3 wide receiver in the game, maybe even arguably 1 in talent. All you were betting on was him getting hurt again. That's basically it. And I get that. Like, he's had some incomplete seasons, but that was pretty dumb. And T. Higgins will be off on his way. Let's get to the people here. Ricky, always appreciate the betting advice. I do want to shout out Erickson. For 2 weeks ago, I parlayed Frymouth and Goddard touchdowns. There you go. Look at that. Plus 1816. Ooh, that's pretty good right there. Like that. For sure. Stink Mangione says, I need a surefire bet to make a splash of cash. Andrew and Joe, can you please help? Week 15, what's the sure thing? I say it is the Ravens stomping a mud hole in the coming off the bye against the New York Giants. That's honestly what I say is I know it's like 15 million points. I don't care. It's 16.5 now. I bet it at 14.5 and now it's 16.5. I told you it was going to get worse. It
got worse because Drew Lock's not starting anymore. Like it's Tommy DeVito. Like that's
because Tommy DeVito is so much worse. But in all seriousness, let's talk about like in terms of locks this week. I know everybody, is going towards that Mike Tomlin is the underdog narrative lock because that's always come through. But with Pickens out, I have real concerns about them. I continue to say that every week Seattle is not favored, and every week they should be, and every week they've been winning. I would stay on my Seattle Seahawks at home primetime game against the Packers, who's been mediocre again on the road. And I've learned my lesson after the Bears got their ass kicked last week in San Francisco to listen to Andrew Erickson about anybody who plays the Lions, because who played the Lions last week? Was the Packers. Yeah. So give me Seattle with the 2.5. To me, that's my lock of the week. How about you?
I mean, if you just bet against the Jets, you usually win. I mean, that's really
they are playing Mac Jones and the Jaguars though, and yet they're a favorites again. And I asked Paul.
That's what I mean. If you wanted to, the least profitable way of this NFL season was betting on the Jets as favorites, because not only do they not cover as favorites, they don't win as favorites. So I really still like the Jaguars. They're playing at home. Like, I don't care how bad their secondary is. I don't care that Aaron Rodgers threw for 300 yards last week. The thing that I looked at specifically with that matchup was a lot of the Jaguars, what their issue with their secondary is, a lot of it's on deep passes. Is Aaron Rodgers dropping back and holding the ball for 3 seconds to let his guys go downfield? No. So I don't think his style that he plays with, where he's getting the ball out really quick, I don't think that really is conducive to them taking advantage of the Jaguars, which is where their worst is against the deep pass, which Aaron Rodgers has no interest in doing whatsoever. So I think that this game is going to be a lot closer. You're getting Jaguars plus 3.5. Like, I mean, I don't even know. I don't even have confidence the Jets are going to win, right? So I like that. The Jaguars are 8-2 as home underdogs against the spread. Like,
Jose,
they
I
find ways
see
to
in the
cover.
chat
So.
too, by the way. So Jose, friend of the show, huge FP person, huge football fanatic. His kids are fans of the show too. And I don't know when it was. I don't know if it was like after the season last year or even everything runs together for me. But Jose, appreciate you. So his kids, again, big fantasy football fan. He got them involved this year. So I did a little like cameo video, sent it to them, saying hello and all that stuff. And apparently it went over big. So appreciate you, Jose, and hanging out with us and being part of our community. By the way, speaking of our community, if you want to be part of our Betting Pros or Fantasy Pros community, go join it over at bettingpros.com/chat. Our Discord is live and in action. And as I just said, Matt Peralta and I are now doing a live show where you could talk to us and be on the podcast as well. So go check that out. That's going to be every single Tuesday at noon. We'll be doing that program. So we'll have to continue to get more of you on that show. I know last week we had a little hiccup with something, but we should be good to go going forward. So we want to talk to the people. The best way to do that, bettingpros.com/chat. Join our Discord. Again, you can have access to our analysts, access to an incredible community that's sharing information constantly, sharing picks. It's great. So if you're really taking this seriously, or if you're just trying to get more familiar with it, Discord is the place to be. So go check that out. All right, let's talk about another game coming up on this slate here because it's ugly. And sometimes ugly is a way to make money. The Las Vegas Raiders right now are in an ugly situation. But then again, so is Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. So the Falcons can't get out of their own way. They're 4-point favorites going on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. Desmond Ridder likely to be playing in this game. So with how poorly Kirk Cousins has played, I know this is tough here where people look at that for. Is that a comfortable number for you with this game? Because theoretically now with Ridder, it should be a very easy. I mean, I would set this at 6, to be honest with you. So I still think you're getting value at the 4, despite Kirk Cousins' shortcomings. Where do you stand with this one? Again, the Raiders are not a team that are playing for much either.
I mean, they're playing for the number 1 overall pick, right? that's what's in play for them there.
Fair.
No, I think you're getting a ton of value on the Falcons because Kirk Cousins has played bad. But look, again, I was wrong about Kirk Cousins last week. I know that he played better. Still threw for 300 yards. It's not his fault that his defense gives up 40 points. It's not his fault that his team fumbled the ball. Like, yes, he deserves
but he threw more picks too.
Yes,
he
deserves a lot of the blame, but it's not like the entire team has really been showing up to help him out. Like, and if you look at the matchups they played, Denver, good defense. Vikings, good defense. Like the teams that they are losing to are some of the better defenses in the NFL. Are the Raiders in that category? Like, no, like they're not. So I get that it's super frustrating because of the interceptions, but until they're eliminated, everything that Raheem Morris is saying is they're not putting Michael Penix in unless Kirk Cousins gets hurt or they're eliminated from playoffs. Like they're going to continue to roll with Kirk Cousins. Because I'm not so sure that they're going to put Penix in. He's going to immediately solve everything. Like, is he going to make the defense not give up 40 points? Like, I don't think so. So they have bigger problems than just Kirk Cousins. I mean, this is an incomplete team, and we've seen their shortcomings the last couple of seasons, even with the quarterback play. So, and the fact that it is Desmond Ridder that they're going up against, like, I mean, they know who Desmond Ridder is. There's a reason they traded him to the Cardinals. And the reason he's not on the Cardinals anymore. He's on the Raiders now. Like, there's a reason why he didn't even make it as the backup in Arizona. So, I get that the Falcons have not been good, but this is a good buy low spot just because of the narrative around them.
Sam's got a good question going back to the game we were talking about earlier. Without Pickens, I think Pittsburgh struggles. Philly wins and Hurts gets back on track. Now, the one thing about that game, too, is we've noticed the chirping of A.J. Brown. That situation, it's not the first time this has happened. And typically, what is it? The squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And there's an overcorrection. I'm anticipating that happening this week. The number for A.J. Brown, 80.5 for the over or under on his receiving yards. For his touchdown score prop right now, it's plus 150. I got to say, I think the better of those two bets is the touchdown, plus 150. I think the 80 is a large number. And if they're in control of this game, maybe they don't have to press too much. And they are not going to change their identity completely because what they're doing is working. And they're winning football games despite last week being kind of close. Yes, they do have to open up the offense a little bit more. I think that will still be a challenge against a very good Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So rather than run to the 80.5, which is already still a pretty high number considering, I would just look for the touchdown. What do you think about this?
Yeah, the AJ Brown thing is very interesting because, last week Devontae Smith scored a touchdown, Grant Calcaterra scores a touchdown, AJ Brown doesn't get one, and of course he's the one that's upset. Even though those guys didn't really have that much yardage either, right? Like we understand that and honestly, I kind of get it from AJ Brown's perspective a little bit because this is the same thing they did with the Tennessee Titans, right? Like he was on a team that never threw the ball, and it gets annoying after a while because you're like, dude, like I can be so good, but this offense is not conducive to me getting the ball. But he shouldn't be like bitter about this because they're winning so many games. Like they're going to be a legitimate like Super Bowl contender, and you're going to get your time in the sun, AJ Brown. Like there's going to be opportunities where the Eagles are going to have to throw the ball. So I think that you'll be okay. But to your point, yes, when they get close, whether it's going to be some type of fake thing where they give it to Saquon throws it to AJ Brown, they all hug, they're all happy, just like the Romeo Dobbs thing. Like we see this all the time with the squeaky wheel. So I think AJ Brown, I'm getting so many questions about AJ Brown for fantasy. It's like, do I sit AJ Brown? Like I would rather sever my left leg than sit AJ Brown on my fantasy team. Like I don't care. Like I'm starting him no matter what. So,
but 80.5 is a big number considering where this passing offense has been. That's why I favor the touchdown. You're getting plus money on the touchdown. I think when they get in the red zone, I think Barkley becomes the very predictable factor there. So maybe you do start to open them. And the fact that Goddard is hurt. I know Calcaterra had the touchdown last week, but I don't know that's something you want to count on every week. So look, I get it. AJ Brown's frustrated. AJ Brown wants to be, part of what's going on. And I get it. I understand as a professional, you want to be doing your part, but it's starting to feel like, that meme was like, I did my part. I didn't do, what, like that's, but he doesn't want to be that guy.
Like the thing that's like, and we've gotten some like rumblings about how AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts aren't like friends anymore or something bogus along those lines. And I'm just thinking back to, wait, wasn't it just like 3 years ago they were at Disney World together wearing the Mickey Mouse ears? Like, come on, we got to bring that back.
Like you and me last year were at the Rainforest Cafe. Now we barely
exactly.
speak,
I will say last thing on this Eagles thing, I don't know what the prop is for Jalen Hurts to throw an interception. He hasn't thrown a lot of interceptions this year because he's taken a lot of, like, he's not like forcing the ball.
Well, he was very turnover prone from last year going
exactly. So if there's a narrative around, hey, we got to force the ball to AJ Brown a little bit more. Well, who's going to be guarding AJ Brown a lot? Probably Joey Porter Jr. Right. So I think that if Hurts is now kind of trying to make a little bit more of these tight window throws, maybe you get an interception. I have to imagine because Hurts hasn't thrown a lot of picks, you probably get a good payout on his interception, bro.
Right now,
so I don't know what it is, but I think that's an interesting way to play it too, because if he's a little bit more aggressive, they know they're going to be forcing it to AJ Brown a little bit more. Maybe Pittsburgh jumps one of these routes. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Well, whenever you're looking at props, don't forget to use the prop bet cheat sheet. That's what it's there for you to maximize your prop betting success with the BettingPros prop bet cheat sheet. You can instantly compare all the sportsbook lines with the expert projections, and you get the best of all worlds right there in front of you to go make your bet. So customize your bets by filtering the props by matchup, odds, bet type, game. You can figure it all out for yourself. It's very easy, and you get tailored recommendations and track your winning trends with ease with this comprehensive tool only on BettingPros. Download your BettingPros app today, sync your sportsbooks for free, and use the prop bet cheat sheet, or just go to bettingpros.com/props to check it out for yourself. All right, let's get to some more of these games here. I was looking for the Hurts. I can't seem to find that one anywhere right now. I know a lot of people are asking about Thursday Night Football. Now, Boggs and I, right after this, we're going to be doing the whole Thursday Night Football show just like we always do, breaking everything down. He's got all his props. I know we're both very high on Puka Nacua to score a touchdown. I can tell you that much, so no spoiler there. But Andrew, I'm not going to be able to get your take on this game because tomorrow we start launching into the best bets for Sunday's games. So what's your take on this contest coming up? We've got one where, once again, the Rams are playing for everything here. Like, they are alive in this. I guess San Fran theoretically is too at 6-7. They'd have to run the table. And there are enough in-division games here where if Seattle takes a loss this week, and then Seattle at the very end of the year too against the Rams week 18, there's going to be some tiebreaker situations. So they're both fighting for their life. I just don't know if there's any life left in the San Francisco 49ers. There's certainly no running backs left in them. They're still 3-point favorites at home. 49.5 is the number, plus 130 on the money line for the Rams. So I'm not sure how much you've dove into this game, but do you have any feelings and thoughts here for the people in the live stream on it?
I like the Rams a lot. I mean, I don't think like fading the 49ers has been more often not a successful strategy this season. Obviously didn't work last week because it was the Bears that we had to push our chips in on to take on the 49ers. That didn't work out. I feel much better about pushing my chips in on the Rams, who can go blow for blow against the 49ers. And remember, the last time these teams played, Matthew Stafford was out there with Tutu Atwell in the Will Smith meme, right? Where he's looking around like, where are my guys? Like, I don't have any of my guys with me. So I like a lot of the overs in terms of like props in this game. Stafford overpassing, Brock Purdy overpassing. And I like buying the dip on some of the Debo props. Like, I think they're going to force feed him touches, whether it's as a rusher, whether it's
you would think they would
receiver.
have to as a rusher at this point. Like, they're just.
I mean, they did a little bit. They did a little bit last week. He had 5 carries, which was the most that he's seen in a while. So the way I kind of see it is like, give me Debo first touchdown. Like when they get in close, I think that's who they're going to use. So that's kind of how I like approaching it. Yeah.
That's a fun one. The first touchdown too. You get a bigger number. By the way, our incredible producer Sal found the number for me, of course, on the prop bet cheat sheet there. He found it. Jalen Hurts plus 130 for the over on the INTs.
And that's just one pick, right? Yeah, that's pretty good.
One pick, 0.5. So to throw a pick plus 130. So there you have it for everybody who might be asking about that. The under minus 165. So pretty heavy juice because he hasn't been turning the football over.
Exactly.
You know, that's just where it is. So again, if you want Boggs breakdown, the full thing, watch tomorrow. We're recording that in just about a half hour from now. We'll be doing that show. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 4-point favorites on the road against the Cleveland Browns, who are entertaining for all the right and the wrong reasons at times. Kadarius Toney's out of a job.
Dude,
what an incredible Kadarius. We talk about the full Jameis Winston experience. You got the whole Kadarius Toney experience last week too, which I think is pretty amazing. 2 plays, 2 kick returns, 1 taunting penalty.
If anything, this is a reminder. This is a reminder to people about like the Chiefs and like their ultimate turmoil. This guy was on their offense last year.
He was, yeah.
Like as disappointed as the Chiefs seem like they are this year. Like when you think about what they're going to be in the playoffs, like they're going to get Marquise Brown back. They have Xavier Worthy. Like so many. They have DeAndre Hopkins. Like I get like the numbers aren't necessarily there for them, but like they're so much better. I
totally forgot he existed, Andrew.
Exactly. Like they're so much better than they were last year, where they had guys like Kadarius Toney on their team. So
I'm so much older now than when Marquise Hollywood Brown was signed by the.
He's coming back for the
Chiefs this
offseason. So he'll be back.
Oh my God! I wonder if he helps, but. Wouldn't that be something if he's the straw that stirs the drink of this offense and all of a sudden he has some big games? By the way, Debo, first TD plus 1,000. So huge number there. All right. So the Chiefs have been like this prize fighter that keeps getting knocked all over the place, but eventually always kind of stands back up and finds a way to win the technical knockout. 4 is the number. It's not a huge number. It is on the road. Do you think that the 4 is safe here with the Chiefs?
I actually like the Chiefs. Yeah. I think that. Look, part of the reason why it's so hard for them to cover the spread is because the spread is usually like 10 points every single week.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's 10, but it's typically a touchdown or more.
I mean,
that's been the problem this year, and that's why we've bet against them so much because they've played so many close games. The Denver game a couple weeks ago, I think that was a 6.5, right, or 6. Yeah, definitely. I want to say it was at least a touchdown.
Yeah. So this isn't a divisional game like last week against the Chargers where you're always going to kind of make it a little bit tighter. And I think that you're kind of getting some decent value on the Chiefs at 4 because they're on the road. But when you look at them on the season against the spread on the road, they're 3-3. So like against the spread, they actually haven't been that horrible on the road, specifically because you're getting more value on their numbers. So I like it at 4. I mean, the Browns have 3 wins this year. And 4 points against the Chiefs. Like again, and we're looking at, okay, how does this Chiefs explosive offense get unlocked? Right. Well, you face the Browns, right? That's what you do because the Browns are just the notorious team for just giving up blown coverages left and right. The prediction show this week, I talked about, this is finally the week Xavier Worthy catches the long touchdown. Like finally it comes to fruition. He's seeing all these deep targets. He's getting a little bit more involved in the offense, but we haven't seen a ceiling game from him in a while. I like Xavier Worthy go over his receiving yards prop. And finally catch
40.5 at minus 137. That's the best number you can get on it right now. So,
yeah.
And by the way, 40.5, he's gone over last week in week 14, 13, 12, and 11. So he's gone over this number 4 straight weeks. So that is a really good look at you. Savvy.
Consistent. Yeah.
Savvy, consistently mediocre, but look, the blown coverage is certainly that would lead. I would also look, that number's not gonna be out yet, the one I'm going to talk about, but the longest reception, whatever that is, that might be a way. Maybe you want to duo those two if you can. You can put them together, a little SGP action. Look at Mike Mayer going down the stat well for us. Look at him, just out of his leisure time. Shouldn't he be working, Mayer, instead of watching the live stream? He'll say that is me working, and I'll say, no, this is us working. This is you having fun when on company time. Out of 249 wide receivers, Kadarius Toney is 247th in fantasy points with minus 8.8. That's below 45 wide receivers who have 0 points. That's great. That is amazing.
Who else has negative points?
I don't know, but you know what? Character matters. I think, you know, when the Giants drafted Kadarius Toney, you know, there were a lot of questions about the character, a lot of questions about it. They took him anyway. They took him higher than a lot of people thought they were going to. And maybe that goes back to, you know, continuing to look at the decision-making process of the Giants, right? It's not just the Daniel Jones decision. It's not just the Saquon Barkley decision. There's been a lot of little decisions along the way and draft decisions along the way. Evan Neal decision and like things have just not really worked out for them the way they envisioned it. And they've put their chips on a lot of, you know, horses that really never finished.
Well, didn't they trade Toney for like a decent return to the Chiefs? Right? I mean, I think they
traded him to the Chiefs. I don't remember what the number.
Well, I think it was like, I feel like it's like a 3rd round pick, but like maybe I'm wrong. But like,
I don't think it was a 3rd round pick. Maybe Mike Mayer, who's not working, can get us that number too.
I need to know because I thought that I was like, hey, like at least they were smart enough to like realize that this is not going to work. Like we need to get rid of this guy and like, you know, recoup some type of assets from the trade because basically Kadarius Toney was holding on to that one game that he had against the Cowboys where he had like 200 receiving yards in a game that he got
ejected. It was a magical moment and everybody and myself ran to pick him up.
And he got
because there was nobody else. Remember, there was nobody else in that wide receiver core at the time for the Giants. So it was like, okay, if this guy can even just get 6 targets a game, he could have, you know, 20 fantasy points. He is that kind of special talent.
It was the full Kadarius Toney experience because he got ejected in that game, I'm pretty sure.
He did get ejected in that game. You're right. I forgot he did get ejected. I thought he got hurt in that game. He got hurt.
I know it was everything. He got hurt. He got ejected. He punched somebody. Like
it's like he's like the Guns N' Roses of football wide receivers. You know, it's just better to burn out than to fade away at the end of the way. Oh my God. The answer to the question: Jaquan Jackson, Charlie Jones, Jermaine Jackson, negative fantasy points, all as wide receivers. And then someone named Bryson Tremaine. So there you go. I gotta say these are like made up Madden, you know, when you keep doing the franchise mode and you keep like generating new players to draft. Speaking of the New York Football Giants, I did kind of touch on it earlier as a joke, but let's touch on it seriously. So 14.5 on Monday when we started, I said bet it at 14.5. Now it's 16.5 for the Giants and the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens coming off a bye, time to prepare, angry as all, you know what, trying to get back on track. They really need a W here in the worst way. And I think it's good for them to stomp a mud hole kind of victory. Like this needs to be one of those 40-3 kind of games for them or 40-6. It feels like they need that just to kind of get themselves back in that confidence window. I think it would go a long way. So what are your thoughts on this one? Is 16.5 too much, not enough? I know typically the big numbers scare you, but then again, so does the Giants right now. They scare you too.
I mean, I had just kind of come around to the idea of like 14.5 with Drew Lock as the quarterback.
Just
like,
got
all right.
there.
And then eventually there's like now Tommy DeVito's.
Oh my God. Sorry. Mike Mayer says they got a 3rd and a 6th.
Okay. See, God. So okay. They did get something decent back for him.
Yeah, but they drafted him in this.
Okay. But again, they could have gone down with a ship like the Patriots and then like trade a 2nd round pick for Mohamed Sanu. So they didn't do that.
Are you saying Tyquan Thornton's ever going to work out?
I'm saying that it hasn't already worked out for him. There's a reason he's on the Chiefs and not Kadarius
Toney. I know. He got released a couple weeks ago. Or was it you that was telling me the Jalen Polk thing?
Jalen Polk thought he got released already. He's like, I already thought it was over. It's like, well, that just tells you the status of how well he's playing this year.
But look, it's a huge number. Going back to it, I still feel very comfortable with it. I think this is they are so out of their depth in class right now. And the Giants right now, the negativity, I actually think it's worse for them that they're at home. I would give them more of a chance to cover this number on the road, believe it or not, against the Ravens. Not because the Ravens is not a tough environment, it is, but it's become such a toxic environment in New York with the booze and everything, where I just feel like the guys are people wearing bags on their heads, they're flying banners over the stadium. It's brutal right now in New York on both these football teams. So I don't know, man. I think this is going to get real dark out real early.
Yeah, this one, honestly, I'm probably just going to like shy away from it. There are much better bets. Again, when you look at historically, like a spread this big, like you're looking at a 50% hit, right? Like it's a coin flip. So for me, it's like so many things have to work in the Ravens' favor, 16.5 points, right? It's just so many for a team that they're not trying to win by 16.5 points. They're just trying to win. Like they don't care. And also, how's their kicker situation going, huh? What about all those 3-point kicks? Are those going to be there for them or not? Like that's problematic too. So
I see a lot more sixes in this game. I don't know if the Giants defense can
maybe
stop
this is an
anybody too.
opportunity where they try to get Justin Tucker's confidence back. It's like, hey, like we got plenty. Let's get all these chip shots in for Justin Tucker against the Giants.
That's what we should have been doing last week at practice with the week off. That's what you do at practice.
I'm not the coach. I don't know.
Well, maybe you should be. Andrew Erickson's available NFL if you're watching right now. So Jerry's go with the Ravens defense all day. Yeah, it seems like it. And Mike Mayer got it. Tony was I thought he was a first round.
Yeah. Well, we
so they turned a first round pick into a 3rd and a 6th. Way to go. Way to go. Good job, Giants.
What did the Patriots turn N'Keal Harry into?
Oh, N'Keal Harry. Nothing. No.
Gosh.
They've had a bad run, but that's okay. We can start rooting for University of North Carolina now. Like, we can become big fans.
See, Belichick's just following Drake May. Okay, he went to North Carolina. He's going to go back.
He's reverse engineering the process. All right, everybody. We appreciate you joining us here on the live stream today. Make sure you subscribe to the BP channel. And remember, when you subscribe and you drop comments below, you could win the Stephon Diggs autographed jersey. Thanks to our friends at Pristine Auction. Again, be a subscriber, drop a comment below, and ring the bell till it goes ding. Join our Discord, bettingpros.com/chat. That's the place to be to get in all the conversations here with the experts and our incredible betting community. And of course, last but not least, do not forget about our Betting Pros prop bet cheat sheet too, because that is a tool that is absolutely necessary. It's how we put our shows together. It's how we place a lot of our bets too. And it is such an easy thing to look at, understand, make your bets. So download the Betting Pros app, sync your sports books for free, and use the prop bet cheat sheet. Go to bettingpros.com/props. That's where you get it. You get the best line with the best over under right there, spoon fed to you like you're a baby, and you can get big and fat with all the cash you're going to make. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Happy betting. Poor Giants. Can't get anything right. New York football is bad, Andrew. It's bad.
It's terrible. Terrible.